Do not attempt to repeat or reenact anything in this report. This video is strictly for education and entertainment purposes. Dying, melting into earth, fear, and comfort. Submitted to erowid.org on October 10th, 2020 by Phantasmagoria. About 3 grams of dried mushrooms ingested orally. Individual profile. Female, 28 years of age, about 140 pounds. Active and fit, practicing yoga and dance daily. No prescription drugs for the past year. 10+ years experience with marijuana. Much of my lifestyle is a spiritual one, practicing meditation, shamanism, and divination, tarot cards, and offering and teaching these skills and gifts professionally to varying degrees. I believe in and spend time with animal spirits and plant spirits on a regular basis. I believe in fairies and have experienced OBE and bilocation in hypnosis. I seek to embody authenticity consistently, embrace the flow in, around, and through me, and be the best version of myself I can be by experiencing my life fully and with intent and gratitude. Dose size taken, about 3 grams of dried mushrooms. I was informed by a reliable, experienced person that they were particularly fine-looking specimens. Method of ingestion: chewing and swallowing. My experience with psilocybin mushrooms was prefaced by many years of anticipation, intense fascination, and curiosity. I am presently age 28 and have been researching psychedelic experiences, specifically of the mushroom, but also of other earth-grown substances like ayahuasca, peyote, and datura, since my teenage years. This included extensive reading of texts by psychedelic pioneers like Terence McKenna, experiential accounts, science, philosophy, shamanistic writings, and so on. I had also discussed my interest with various people who have had extensive experience in the psychedelic realm, and I finally felt ready to accept the journey. I believe that much of my fear that kept me from going on the journey when I was younger stemmed from a faulty belief that due to some family history with schizophrenia, I would somehow slip into eternal madness, the result of being negatively programmed by the many lies of anti-drug propagandists that we all know and love. After I realized this was not the case, partially due to inner work, recognizing how I had been programmed to believe lies designed to hold me back and conquering these inner hurdles, and partially due to my extensive research that assuaged these fears as being unsubstantiated, especially for someone with as much intent to grow spiritually and mundanely, I felt ready. I had also experienced psychedelic states induced through means other than substances, through practices like yoga and by spiritual contact with certain beings that I believe are directly connected to the spirit of the mushroom. I believe those experiences were trial runs for what follows. In many ways, I feel that my experience both lived up to and fell short of how I envisioned it would be. To qualify that statement, it fell short in that I imagined myself experiencing and wanted to experience a more physical interaction with the earth and living kingdoms, something like a dual astral/physical experience. However, after the journey, I realized I didn't need that. I was able to connect with life and the earth's energy in a direct, immediate, and equally far-reaching way. A couple of days beforehand, I had been at a festival surrounded by good vibes and abundant creative, loving energy. On the last day of the festival, we were informed that one of the attendees had passed away of natural causes. I did not know him, but was affected nonetheless, as my community is a tight-knit one, overflowing with mutual love. As such, I had been reflecting on death, life, and love beyond this mortal plane. My intentions for taking the dose, according to my travel notebook, were as follows: to allow the inner voice to tell me why I am here, or whatever wisdom it wants to impart. I want to become more aware of my path. I would like to learn whatever truths or techniques I can to better communicate my needs and live in harmony with those around me. Connection with all that is. Mystical and magical experience. Sensory increase. Inhale love, exhale gratitude. 00. I decided to go on the journey alone after being assured by a person I trust that doing so would be safe for a person like myself. My partner was waiting within earshot at our campsite, and I instructed him that if I needed help, I would shriek through my flute very loudly. I walked a few minutes and found a beautiful old mother tree with exposed roots. I sat down on some moss nearby, lit sage and lavender to bless and clear the space, created a crystal grid, and relaxed before beginning to eat. The mushroom was delicious, nutty, robust, and earthy. I love culinary mushrooms, so this pleased me. I ate one cap and one stem, leaving the second cap and stem for later. I wrote, I am entering into this with receptivity and humility. Then I relaxed, observed the colors of my pants and crystals, and pondered whether the dreamlike truth of reality would become more malleable and apparent. I noticed that in my crystal grid, my specimen of bismuth, shaped like a ziggurat, decided to lay itself facing down, symbolizing going inward to the earth. As above, so below. 020, I began feeling slow and body-aware, but not compelled to move and shift as I usually do as a dancer. A little woozy, but only slightly. I packed a bowl of marijuana, sage and lavender, and smoked a little. My sense of hearing heightened, and I became aware of the silence and hum between everything. The hum grew louder and multisensory. Inner heat rose, unlike the kind from yoga practice, though I couldn't define how. The smoke tasted almost exactly as it did over 10 years ago when I first began using marijuana. It was lush. At this point, time lost meaning. I played with my flutes and tarot cards, listened to the birds and trees, and simply enjoyed being a forest creature. At some point, I felt directed to put most of my crystals away, leaving out only a few. I played my recorder-like wooden flute. It was very pleasurable. I played for the birds and trees, noticing how different sounds resonated differently within me. Some melodies felt happy, some sad. Then I took out my silver flute. As I opened the case, the vibrations began even before assembly. The flute rang and sang just by being. The ringing grew all-encompassing. I felt connected to everything around me, as though all existence were a vast spiderweb made of silken energy strings. Feeling the twangs and pings from every direction, I played. It was magical. I was overcome with gratitude for this flute. Remembering when I received it from my mother as a child, I felt both gratitude and sadness for neglecting it for years, yet peace that the present moment is all that matters. Throughout sitting on this patch of moss, I also connected with my tarot cards in a new way, deep trust. My hands and eyes interacted fluidly with them, and the images provided guidance and reassurance. There was no doubt in my mind that the messages I was receiving must be heeded. The cards felt alive, each carrying its own energy, their combined presence pulsing with power. I wrote in my notebook, I could get used to feeling this flow. The gifts I possess, harmonious, awake, friends with all who come my way, capable. Then I remember, I have no choice. This is it. This is me. I have a choice. I have no choice. I am watching. I am creating, buzzing, ringing. I noticed a thought loop forming and consciously broke free. This was when open-eyed visuals began, everything bending and melting. I jotted notes, bits of poetry, unfinished thoughts, the ends missing, as if they belonged to an ego I was now surpassing. Throughout the trip, I surrendered to guidance from my inner voice and my surroundings. I walked down the hill to pray to the tree and cried, lamenting the reality of my existence, grateful yet overwhelmed by the responsibility of holding the keys to my own happiness. The small climb back felt monumental, though truly only about 8 feet. My mind spun a story in which I was a mother who had lost her children in some tragic moment, perhaps swept away by a river. I experienced the grief of helplessness and cried at the feet of Mother Earth, asking for strength and fortitude. Eventually, I realized the crying had run its course and stopped. My physical boundaries began dissolving into the forest floor. I placed my hands into the dirt, asking permission internally, as if beginning an intimate exchange. Bugs crawled around me, everything merged. I melted into the earth, embraced by it, remembering the cycle of life. For a moment, I transformed into a lizard and ate a stick as naturally as if it were prey. It felt utterly right. I was grateful to draw the soil into my body. After a time, I packed up and moved. Night was falling, and I realized I was lost. Fear arose when my calls to my partner went unanswered and my compass malfunctioned. With no cell service, I couldn't contact anyone. The disorientation and compass failure made me believe I was dying, transitioning, and I wanted desperately to communicate my love to my mother, my partner, and my teacher, but couldn't. I accepted this and decided to perform final rites for myself. I arranged my objects, imagined my earthly remains left behind for my loved ones, and sent them love and reassurance. Curled up, I said goodbye to the world, feeling shadowy energies searching for me. They didn't seem truly harmful, but I avoided them by staying still and quiet. I cried, blessed my body, gave myself Reiki, and focused on breathing, with the earth, with everything, accepting my place and fate. Things became inarticulate. I sensed that life and death were the same. We die many times through life. I imagined that if I awoke elsewhere, I could rebuild easily, carrying memory and love, but knowing it was gone. It reminded me of the show Lost, where one awakens elsewhere, life shifting fluidly. I resigned myself to life's mystery. I might have fallen asleep because at some point I awoke and decided that I still existed. At that moment, it seems I am lost in the woods, not too far from my campsite. I feel safe but confused. My earlier calls to partner didn't get a response. I have food and water. I said my prayers. I learned a lot, not sure which way to go. It is 10 p.m., May 19th, 2014, Monday. It is chilly but warm enough. Partner is probably sleeping. I miss him. I prayed for help, thinking I was dying. I lay down and showed appreciation for everyone I love. I believe I am lost in the woods. I called for aid, but it seems I am just here. I have learned that at night I should stay put. I am off my trail. Be still like a rock. Morning will come. I wish I was at my tent, car, or with my partner. Seeing this written, I knew I was coming back to Earth. The repetition in my note shows I was focusing on simple truths. Eventually, I decided not to stay put. I used my headlamp to search for my original spot. If my partner hadn't come for me by then, he probably wouldn't. So I preferred to find my own way rather than cause alarm. A few steps later, I found my crystal bag that I hadn't realized I'd lost. I knew I was on the right path. Soon I reached the trailhead and saw my partner's fire in the distance. It had been about 5 hours since I began the dose. The afterglow lasted about an hour. When I reached my partner, I hugged him, expressing the intensity of what I'd experienced. I told him how much I loved him and recounted the journey's key moments, both beautiful and difficult. I helped cook a meal but moved slowly, conserving energy. I felt serene and cared for, content to simply be. At some point, I buried the remaining half of the mushrooms in the dirt. I felt it wasn't my time to take them and that they belonged to the earth. It was both an offering and an acceptance that I might not take mushrooms again soon. Or perhaps I would. The remaining specimen made it clear that it wanted to return to the soil. I would definitely journey again, someday, though differently. I'd like to experience it with another person, to share perspective, and to record music or writing inspired by the vision rather than documenting events step by step. Now that I understand how I experience the world on mushrooms, I can enter future journeys with more confidence and joy, whether shared with others, myself, or the spirit of the mushroom itself. Although parts were harrowing, I learned immensely. My understanding of reality, consciousness, and interconnectedness deepened. I was reminded of the love and gratitude within me. I took stock of my life, found deep peace, forgave myself and others, and renewed my faith in my inner voice. My admiration for the earth and my gifts grew profoundly. My movements during the experience felt guided by another force. As a dancer and movement meditation teacher, my body awareness remained vivid. The path of least resistance revealed itself as though there were only one true way to move. My body flowed naturally, yet choice remained. Sometimes I followed whimsy, other times the current. When I resisted, my body simply refused to move otherwise. I still have questions and know I will until my spirit transitions beyond. But I found what I sought in this first trip. I'm in awe of my plant and fungal allies and excited to continue learning from them and from life itself. I feel I glimpsed the truth of existence, God, and love, and now hold the memory of that understanding. My task is to cultivate that knowledge, egolessness, and flow on my own. Thank you for tuning in to this report. If you enjoyed what you listened to, feel free to like the video or subscribe to keep up to date and in the community.